was at the player media availability this week, and Will Campbell was talking about a players-only meeting that happened with the team here this week after the Florida game, and here was the message from Campbell.
The win. I mean, nobody around here, whether that's people in the building or people outside the building, want to lose. And, you know, we have a good opportunity this week. We got to come out and play our style of football for 4 quarters and get this stain off of us.
Where do you think the issues in the run game have come from this season?
Lack of communication up front between the 5 guys. We're given the looks. It's just something that we have to handle in the game. The coaches that put us in the right positions, it's up to us now.
Has that been kind of concerning that it's taken this long to kind of get that going, or why do you think there's been that disconnect, I guess, for this long in the season?
You know, at the end of the day, it's football. A lot goes on. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, we got 2 opportunities this season to fix it, and it's something we intend on doing.
You're one of the most competitive people probably in the entire locker room. How do you keep your head up, keep your spirits up, and then also lead at the same time while making sure that you're still on the right track as well?
Because people, you know, outside the building will, you know, at the end of the day, if you don't win a championship here, it's a failure. And I agree with that. But we still have a lot to play for. I mean, 6-6 is a lot worse than 8-4. So we have to go win 2 more games. And, you know, everybody else can doubt us, all that, but we know what we have to do to finish this year on the right way and get into a good bowl game and do what we have to do, and that's really the bottom line.
Will Campbell, one of your spoken leaders of the team, spoken leader in the locker room, you know, really speaking the truth, right? I mean, of how this thing works. I mean, it's one and easy for, you know, people like me to sit on the microphone and gripe into it about what's going on, but I mean, within those walls, you have to have guys like Campbell that says, hey, close the doors, block that stuff out. It's about taking care of what's in front of you and taking care of the business, because he's right. I mean, you finish 6-6 compared to what 8-4 is, and 8-4 is not ideal. 8-4 is a lot better than 6-6, though. I mean, 6-6 is, you know, you got some things burning.
And the way that you would have gotten to 6-6, that would have been 5 straight losses, and the last 2 losses would have been at home to a okay Vanderbilt team and a bad Oklahoma team. I mean, that's
a putrid Florida team.
Atrocious.
And look, I've done a couple of radio shows over the last couple of days, and people have asked, what's the status of Brian Kelly? What needs to change? What needs to happen? And here is my evaluation after, you know, of it after, you know, having the time to kind of get away from it and how bad Saturday was, and just, in my opinion, what could help LSU in where they are. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by PepFit. Get PepFit on Instagram at onlinepepfittelemedicine.com. Optimizing your health with peptide therapy, hormones, testosterone replacement. Go see them online, pepfittelemedicine.com, or on Instagram at getpepfit. To me, what has to happen, first and foremost, Brian Kelly is in no danger of losing his job. I don't think that there is a possibility, a scenario that exists, even if he was to lose the final 2 games of the season, that would allow LSU to make the move of moving on Kelly. So I think that anyone who believes that is just out of touch. That's not a reality, and it's not a reality because of the financial commitment that LSU has to the contract. They don't have the capital of $61 million laying around to just pay one person to go away when you would have to pay another coach and staff to come in. You'd have to buy out the current coaching staff, and all the while you have to keep the money on the roster flowing in the right directions, whether it's recruiting or guys that are already on campus, that you got to keep intact. So just from the financial commitment that they have in place already it's impossible. It's impossible. They've got the number one recruiting class in the country committed. They're playing upwards of double digits of young guys, freshmen on this team that are gaining valuable experience on what the future looks like. One thing that Kelly says that I firmly agree with is that the program has to be built through high school recruiting. The transfer portal is, kind of the decorations to the Christmas tree. You can go find some ornaments, some shiny lights, some things that you feel like can make you look better, feel better, have a better team, but you can't build your program on the transfer portal. Florida State is the cautionary tale of that, right?
But when you bring that up, everybody points to Ole Miss. It's a 1 year. It's a 50-50. You're buying a lottery ticket.
I understand that, but Ole Miss is not going to be able to sustain that every single
year. I agree. I'm saying whenever you make that argument, people are like, well, look at Ole Miss. They're doing pretty good. It's like, yeah, it's not sustainable.
Look at Florida State.
Right.
Exactly.
Florida State is the same example that you were using in the Ole Miss category a year ago. Right? Now look at where Florida State is. They're in trouble this weekend against Charleston Southern, in my opinion. I mean, really and truly. I mean, they will have to scratch and claw to win that game.
But they've gotten to the point of this is where LSU is teetering on, which I feel like is the worst spot you can be in if you're a program or a brand or a football team that is supposed to be relevant. You're teetering on apathy with your fan base. Florida State has hit apathy. They don't care if they win or lose that game. Like the fan base doesn't care if they win or lose. It's you're toast, tanked.
And
but LSU is, if you lose to Vanderbilt at home, how many people do you think go to the Oklahoma game?
Oh, it would look like a spring game.
You could let Omar loose.
Yeah, I mean, it would look like a spring game in there for Oklahoma. I mean, not only are you battling that it's Thanksgiving week, I mean, like there's a lot of things going against you.
Might not make the bottom line.
There's a lot of things going against you in that game. So I mean, if you were to lose to Vanderbilt, that game would look. I mean, that game would look like a practice. I mean, it would look like a scrimmage almost
at night.
And so from LSU standpoint, the immediate, right, how you, because Brian Kelly's not going anywhere. So anybody who believes that, I mean, I think in my opinion, that's a pipe dream.
Unless you got $60 million.
That's crazy. And it's not even, 60 is just to pay one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of people in the cog that make this thing turn that you would have to financially take care of and then open up the checkbook even more to go bring more people in. Right? I mean, you got Bryce Underwood openly on social media saying that he's coming to LSU. I mean, I would be floored, shocked if he was to flip. I mean, $10.5 million, $8 million. We've heard all types of numbers being thrown at this guy, and he has stayed steady to LSU. So, I mean, from a stock standpoint, the arrow's still pointing up with that guy alone coming to campus. The lead recruiter on that the entire time has been Joe Sloan. Joe Sloan's done an incredible job in recruiting while he's been here. His first year as a play caller has seen the moments, and the growing pains have been obvious. There's a couple of ways that you can handle this, in my opinion. The way that I would handle it is I would not make a move to take that away from him. But I would make a move in the offseason, or if you can do it now, to bring in somebody to either shadow staff him or consult him and allow them to work with him in his biggest areas of deficiencies. It seems like when the game gets tight, it seems like when the game's getting big moments, sometimes he may not trust himself enough to make the better call, the best call, right? The play calling has left some stuff to be desired. Obviously, you had Brian Kelly with a play sheet last Saturday night. But bringing somebody in to assist Sloan Hankton in that role of offensive play caller, offensive coordinator, I think is something that would make sense. And I would say the same thing for Brad Davis on the offensive line. I mean, Davis, for all intents and purposes, it could be argued, even on a week where he loses one of the top offensive linemen in the country and the number one offensive lineman in the state of Louisiana to Ole Miss, is that he could be argued that he's the best position recruiter in the league. I mean, he's got to be in the discussion for what he's done the last couple of years from a recruiting standpoint. And, you know, for those of us who really understand it, recruiting is just as important as the fall is. I mean, if you're winning in February and in the offseason, you're doing a really good job of keeping your job secure. Now, to be able to do it, you know, kind of full throttle would be the development part in the fall. And I think that's where Davis and the offensive coordinator role is maybe not meeting the standard, where in today's college football world, where you can bring in as many assistant coaches now as you want, you can have as many guys on headsets on the sidelines, you can have as many consultants, shadow staffers in a program that you can really afford to pay for. LSU's sitting in a sweet spot where they're one of the major programs where, look, I know I just argued that they don't have the $61 million and they can't pay these guys and they can't bring in all that, but they do have enough money to go bring in a shadow staff of guys that earn somewhere between $150,000 and $300,000 a year just to kind of sit in the background and make suggestions. As Kelly said a couple of weeks ago, you know, I mean, you've got suggestion makers and you've got decision makers as far as coaches go. Go get you a couple of more suggesters, you know, some guys that can make some suggestions. And not to put too many chefs in the kitchen, but to understand this is where you're deficient. I mean, you've got ace top flight recruiters at these spots. Hankton, Sloan, Davis, guys that
Wilson
make a lot of, I mean, Wilson's fine. I mean, I'm not.
If I'm talking about top flight recruiters.
Yeah, I mean, if there was anything that I would say, I mean, that would be, you know, I mean, maybe Wilson could add some help on something like that.
But that's not why he's there.
No,
that's what I'm saying. You've built this staff of recruiters, in my mind, and now you need a nerd. Give me somebody that wants to look at X's and O's instead of like what. Because this is where I have to give like Brian Kelly credit for, as much as he came in here, like we've talked about this before, but the bravado and everything, and his staff change everything over to tuck tail and rehire people you fired and get the people that should be in the building in the proper spots. Like, he's done that. And so now if you want to say that, where's the coaching? Well, you hired mainly recruiters.
Sure. No, and I think that has been the great kind of like juggling act of Kelly in the first 3 years of trying to find the formula of the personnel of coaching that he sees, you know, kind of fits. And
but in that same vein, if you know what you've hired, would you not, as somebody who said he's called plays for 30-plus years, be like, maybe I should probably be in like off-season wise. Like, I understand you want to let your coaches coach, but that doesn't mean you can't be an assistant to him Monday through Friday and let him coach on Saturday.
Right.
And now you're in week 10 and going, maybe I could help. And now I have a play sheet and a headset, and I'll play you this. Like, I don't know if you heard